Children of the Screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again with another Quick Thoughts video. And today we're going to be focusing in on Crossed plus 100 Mimic. Now this video is going to be a little bit different today, guys, than the normal Quick Thoughts videos, just because this is very different material than what I usually cover in these. So for those of you who don't know, this is all part of the Crossed universe, which basically is a kind of post-apocalyptic universe. A post-apocalyptic timeline, very similar to like The Walking Dead, but with no zombies. Instead, you have people that are infected with this disease that manifests as a rash in a cross shape on their face, which is where they get the term crossed. And then these particular stories, the Crossed plus 100s, happen 100 years after the initial outbreak. And so what you end up getting is like a weird Walking Dead kind of Mad Maxian with like levels of frickin' Cannibal Holocaust, but with no harm done to like animals or indigenous peoples, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what you're in for here, okay? So I'm just letting you know now, before we jump into this, that is what this book is. So if you're not into that, now's a pretty good time to drop out. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Crossed plus 100 Mimic Issue 1. We open in the Casper compound, a place that has survived almost since the original outbreak, and it is also home to our narrator, Archivist Julie. And as her name would indicate, she is the current historian of the Casper compound. And guys, right out of the gate, they're being attacked. They're being attacked and overrun by a group of Cross that are being led by this guy named Thomas, who used to be one of them, but he was always a Crossed. Now, okay, guys, this is page 3, okay? We're on page 3, and in this page, this double page spread, all right? Page 3, double page spread. We have multiple decapitations, multiple instances of rape, multiple people defecating, multiple instances of necrophilia. This is on page 3, okay? Guys, this is your last time to drop out of this if you don't want to hear the rest of this, okay? Page 3, alright? So now we're going to go back in. Alright. Right on, guys. So as I said, the compound is completely being overrun by the Cross, and the Cross are being led by this guy named Thomas. Now, Thomas is a Cross himself. He's got the rash, the whole 9 yards, alright? But whenever he was turned, he maintained more of his humanity. That's not necessarily the right word. Basically, it turned him into a sociopath, but he doesn't get rabid and dumb and just outright kind of animalistically violent like all the others. He still retains his faculties, but he's very separated from anything human in his emotions or anything like that. And after a time being with the group, he went through their basic training, he rose up through the ranks, but turns out the indication from this book seemed to actually be that what happened was him living amongst them and realizing that he would never be their equal. And then also looking at the way they treat their women and their children, and even some of their other men who are not as strong as them. Throughout this book, we get a pretty good indication of what life inside the Casper compound was like, and it was by no means a safe and harmonious environment. It was a structure built entirely on power and physical strength. The strong prey on the weak, and that's just the way their community worked. I believe this is kind of hinted at in the book, like the thing that made Thomas eventually just split off from them and go and find his own group of Cross to teach. But we also learn a little bit more of Thomas's backstory, and we find out that he was taught by someone very similar to him as a boy. Because remember, this infection, this plague, the Cross thing has been going on for 100 years at this point, or at least 100 plus anyway. So anyway, back to the actual plot of the book. They storm the gates, and all the weaker people, the women and the children, and I think there's even a couple of men in there, are basically huddled in this one bunker, and as they realize that their forces are being overthrown, they basically prepare to kill the children because they know what these people will do to the children. It's kind of like Reavers in Firefly or Serenity, like the idea that like they will rape us, fillet our skin, cook us and eat us, and if we're lucky, they will do it in that order. If we're very lucky, they'll do it in that order. So yeah, they're getting ready to kill them, and then like they hear something outside, so one of them presses their ear against the door, and boom, it explodes, and the Crossed freaking come in, and one of the ladies gets ready to cut her child's throat, and Thomas yells out, "No, stop, there's another way." At that point, he leads them outside, and among them, by the way, is our archivist. And he leads them outside where we see a bunch of the strongest warriors from the compound tied up to posts. And he basically gives them a knife and tells them, you can be one of us or you can be one of them. Pick. And these women, without hesitation, and we see through Archivist Julie's point of view, the man that she's taken to kill is a man that Thomas knows forced himself on Julie several times. Like, he raped her multiple times, and so basically Thomas is saying, not only you have to kill to be us, but we're going to give you that thing that you never had here. We can give you power. And because I'm not like them, we can build something different. I'm different. We can build something in my image between the two of us. And basically, Archivist Julie kills the dude. She, unlike some of the other characters, we definitely see hesitation in her afterwards and regret in her afterwards. But she does it. And again, like, knowing the way that these people live, that's pretty understandable, even if she's not thinking about the long-term ramifications of, like, well, what's going to happen after I kill this person? So then after that, we get a really interesting conversation between Thomas and Julie, where basically he tells her that he needs her. He needs her intelligence. And not only that, like, he feels a certain amount of debt to her because she also helped shape him, just like the person who he took his last name from. Basically, whenever he was in the compound and he was in training, in the archives they have all these technical manuals that he had to read. But he used those trips to the archive as an excuse to also pull out the things that Julie had put there for herself. Art, poetry, fiction, things that enrich the human spirit. And because of this, he feels like he not only owes her something, but needs her as well. And then from that point, it goes a little bit further where, like, he can see that she's sad, and he asks her, what is sadness? And as they talk it through, like, she kind of finds these points where she can point out that, like, no, you do understand, you do feel sadness like regular people, but you don't know how to process that. And whether it's the infection or the way he was raised, like, he's just so detached. So this gives him the idea, well then, you're going to teach me what it means and what it's like to be you. And I'm going to teach you what it's like to be me. And with those two, we're going to build something better. And that is where this story leaves us off, guys. Holy shit! Guys! This book is graphic and violent and disturbing and gory and really kind of awesome. The characters are really well developed in a very short amount of time. We don't get much story, but we definitely get a hook and a lead-in to the world. Even if you've never read anything in this series, the character dynamics and the relationships that they set up in this one short issue are more than enough to get you into it, if you're into that kind of thing. Like I said, this book is extremely graphic, but for the kind of book it is exactly what it should be. Guys, this week this book's going to be getting 4 out of 5 GGs and a recommend if you're a horror fan. Especially because there are 2 stories in this book. I only shared the first one with you. There's still something here for you to unpack on your own, okay? The other one's called American History X. Don't let the name throw you. It makes sense in context of the story, has nothing to do with the movie, okay? And it is so graphic that I don't feel comfortable sharing it in a YouTube video, okay? It is insane, but written with the same level of craft and care, and the artwork similarly is done with just so much attention and in a style that is so easily engaging when you're seeing truly horrific things. Guys, there is a scene in the second story where a half-naked woman wearing armor made of human faces and feet skins a guy's face, takes his face off, if you will, okay? And then rides his face, his skinned face. She rides it, and you know exactly what I mean when I say she rides his face to completion, alright? What the fuck? Now, I've read some of these other books before. I read the one by Grant Morrison, or not Grant Morrison, I'm sorry. I read the one by Alan Moore. I read the one by Warren Ellis. Like, this, it's always like this. It's always messed up. But I have to admit, I wasn't expecting this much out of the first issue. So yeah, if you're a horror fan, or if this sounded like something you'd be into, I do highly recommend it, because for the kind of book it is freaking amazing. Yeah. Whew. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. That's more important now than ever with everything YouTube's been changing up on small YouTubers like myself. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get notifications on all the cool content I'll have coming out in the future. Also, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I have the links for that in the description below. Thank you very much, children of the screen. I hope you all have a really good one. Nerd Scum, out.